Yeah, nut butter and seed crackers, and I want to make sure that I get back to law and back to what people can do as far as finding solutions to all this control grid stuff. Okay. So let's take a verbal pause here, and then just when you're ready, let's talk seed crackers and nut butter.
What is it your governors can do? How is it that we have come to thinking and believing that anyone has more to say than you? Stand up, sing your song. Let us know the wisdom of your heart, that you belong, that we belong to you, that you belong to us, and that our love is all untrue.
Hey, good. Could I get that recipe from you for the seed crackers you mentioned?
Oh, the ones I'm eating right now?
Oh, how dare you?
They're so delicious. Yeah, you know, I would love to give you the recipe. It's actually really easy. Do you have a pen and something to write on?
Yep, I'm ready.
Okay. So, they're so good. So here's what you need. 4 glass jars. Okay. Not 2 or 4, but 4 glass jars, right, depending on how much you want to make. And it's equal amounts. You're going to use equal amounts of any seeds and nuts that you want to use. You also need a food processor, a big mixing bowl, and a way to either dehydrate in a dehydrator or be able to do an oven at like 200 degrees. So that you're not cooking. You don't want to cook the crackers. You want to dehydrate them so that it's still a raw food.
Okay, let me go back through that. Make sure I got it all. So 4 glass jars, like ball jars. What size? Doesn't matter.
It depends on how much you want to make. You know, you can use pint if you want to make a small batch, or you can use quarts if you want to, make a lot.
And then equal amounts of whatever seeds and nuts you want to use.
And we'll talk about the exact ones that, the different options in a second, but that's just kind of the basic. It doesn't matter what you use. You can do all seeds, you can do all nuts, you can do a combination.
Okay, a food processor, a big mixing bowl, and a way to dehydrate.
Yeah, you need a spatula for spreading, a couple of flat cookie sheets. You don't want the cookie sheets with the sides on them. You want flat cookie sheets if you're going to use the oven. Obviously, if you're using the dehydrator, it's got its own trays. And then you need parchment paper. Don't skip that step. If you skip that step, you regret that. Absolutely, it'll be a nightmare, okay? Parchment paper is your friend in this recipe. So
yeah, ask me how I know.
Right, okay. Ask me how I know. So that's the basic ingredients. And so when it comes to nuts and seeds, you need to use flax seeds. And you need to use flax seeds because flax seeds are kind of the glue that's going to keep everything held together and make it from being a crunchy granola to being an actual cracker that's going to have structure. Okay? The more flax you use, the more structure your crackers are going to be. So in this particular recipe that I just made, I should have used more flax because my crackers are crumbling apart. And so when I go to store them, when I get to the bottom of the container, instead of having crackers, I'm going to have crumbles, right? Because they're going to break apart inside the jar or the bag. And so The other glue that you can use is chia seeds, okay? And if you want to use sunflower seeds or pumpkin seeds or whatever kind of other seeds that you eat, those are the two that you need to use flax seeds, and chia seeds are another great option. They're super beneficial for health, and they taste really good too, okay? And so they make a nice cracker, and they're also going to be like a glue. So you're going to take, and for nuts, I always use almonds, and I love Brazil nuts, hazelnuts, macadamia nuts, pecan, cashews, whatever. I stay away from peanuts because they are a legume, and I just don't consume them because they make my stomach they make it hurt. So I don't eat a lot of peanuts, although I love peanuts, and I've roasted peanuts at my house, and it's been like I love peanut butter. Anyway, it's another story. That comes into the nut butter world. But we're doing crackers right now, and so what you do is you do. I did a cup of each, right? And so a cup of flax, less chia seeds because they expand wickedly. And so you can do a small amount of chia seeds in a large thing of water, and somehow the chia seeds seem to gelatinize the whole water table. So chia seeds soak up a lot, which is why you don't really want to eat them raw ever, because they're just going to totally dehydrate you by soaking up whatever you have in any juices or water that you have in your system. They're going to soak it right up. So you always want to soak chia seeds before you use them pretty much ever, okay, because they are little sponges. So I get these quart or pint jars, and you just want to put a little bit in each jar. So in a flax, so if I do a cup of flax, I'm going to use a quart jar of water. If I do a cup of chia seeds, a half a cup of chia seeds and almost a quart of water, right? And then you want to soak the nuts. So whatever nuts you choose, you want to soak everything for about 8 hours at room temperature, okay? And so raw is better because when you soak them, they're actually going to partially, especially if it's a raw organic nut, you can actually somewhat sprout your seeds or your nuts, which is great, But it brings some moisture into it. It makes it more bioavailable and allows our body to be able to digest it a little bit more. So you want to soak the seeds. And so the crackers that I just made, I used walnuts, Brazil nuts, pistachios for salt. I love roasted pistachios. I'm totally addicted to pistachios. I'm Sicilian. I'm addicted to pistachios. Do you have that too? Italian woman, do you love pistachios?
My sister, the gypsy wop. Yeah, she definitely has got that.
Yeah, it's definitely an Italian thing. Not that everybody else doesn't love pistachios, but it's a part of our heritage. It's grown in Italy like olives, So you soak the seeds for 8 hours and the nuts for 8 hours. So I just set it up overnight, and then in the morning I make my crackers. Or in the morning and then in the evening around dinner time I make my crackers. And then once the seeds are soaked, the chia seeds and the flax seeds, that's your glue. So you're going to set those aside, and then all of your nuts, you want to strain the water out of them, okay? And you want to get as much as you can. And if you want to reduce your dehydration time or your cook time, you can actually spread them out on the pan. Oh, I've got a call coming in. Sorry about that.
Oh, yeah, I couldn't quite hear you. Spread them out just so they're flat.
No, we're not spreading anything out yet. So,
what did you say then?
I said I have a phone call coming in, so I just needed to get that phone number written down. So the first step is to soak. The second step is to take the nuts or any seeds besides flax and chia. So you set the flax and chia seeds aside, and then if you've got sunflower seeds or pumpkin seeds, or you've got any of the nuts, you're going to put them in a food processor, okay? And the drier, you want to strain them. The drier they are, the less time they're going to take in the dehydrator or the oven, okay? And so that was just a little caveat, little pro tip that I'm giving you there, right? So you put them in the food processor, and now you can season them. I would recommend absolutely putting salt in there. Now, I'm an Italian, so I don't measure anything, right? So I can't give you measurements. You're just going to have to put it on your own. Right? If I have to measure something, I'm annoyed, right? Are you the same way?
Oh, yeah. Bill tries to get me to write down what I did so that we can make that again, and, it just doesn't happen.
Every dish is a one-time dish, every single time. So,
Yep,
I'm the same way. It's a very Italian thing. So, people talk about, like, culture not being important, but there's two great examples of how, I'm pretty far removed. I'm 100% third-generation Italian, so I am totally American. All of my great-grandparents were born in Italy, and all my grandparents were born in the United States, but here I am, third-generation, totally American. But you can't get away from some of this stuff. It's totally just a part of who you are.
Yeah,
part of your DNA. It's genetic. So I put it in the food processor, and then you can add things to it. So if you want it to be whatever flavoring, you can buy flavored crackers. So you can flavor your crackers. And if you want to put like a powdered cheese in there to make a cheesy cracker, the ones I did was I used onion and garlic. Always use salt, though. Don't ever not use salt, because they are just going to be like eating cardboard if you don't use salt. Don't use too much salt. Salt is to bring the flavors of a dish out. It's not to actually season it. It's just to bring the flavors out. So you want to lightly salt the actual mixture as you're food processing it. I decided to use fresh garlic and onion. So I took a long green onion, and I just chopped it up and threw it in there, and I put 4 cloves of garlic in there and a little bit of salt, and that's all I used. I've used other seasonings in the past. You can do like an Italian seasoning with rosemary. You can do more of like like you could do like a curry seasoning, or you could do more of like a thyme. If you do thyme and cumin, it's going to be more of like a Mexican flavoring for like a tacos. Those two make a really nice together, thyme and cumin. Or you can leave them plain. You leave them plain if you want to use them for non-savory things. So if you want to use them for, like peanut butter, you obviously don't really want it to taste like garlic, So you want to match your crackers to how you're going to use them, and you can make different batches with different seasonings and figure out what you like best, right? And so this one for me is just onion, garlic, and salt. And so you do the food processing, and then you get it to it's a nice consistency, so it's not smooth, but you've got chunks of nuts in there. And then you put it into a big mixing bowl, and then you're going to take your coagulated, because the flax and the chia seeds soak up a lot of liquid, and they make like a gel. And that gel is the glue. So now you take that gelatinous flax seed and the gelatinous chia seed, and you pour it into the mixture, and you mix it all up in a big mixing bowl. Then you take your flat sheet, cookie sheet with a piece of parchment down. Please do not forget that step. With a piece of parchment down, you've got your oven set to 200 at the most. And then you take a big glob of these crackers, and you're going to spread it out on the parchment. Now, it's your choice how thick you want your crackers to be. So if you like a thick, hearty cracker that's more of like the thickness of like a graham cracker kind of thickness, kind of thick, it's going to take longer to dehydrate, right? But if you want a nice, thin, crisp cracker, you don't want a chewy cracker, because that means it's not going to be shelf stable. And the more thoroughly you dehydrate them, the longer they're going to be good for. I've got crackers here that have been in a sealed glass jar for 3 years, and they're actually still good because they're thoroughly dehydrated. So you can keep them for a long time, but you don't want to overcook them. They need to be thorough. They need to just crack apart with no chewiness to them. Okay. If you make a chewy cracker, you got to eat them right away.
Okay.
So you spread it out. The thicker it is, the longer it's going to take. And so I like a nice thin cracker, and you just thinly, and then I also sprinkle a little salt on the crackers before I put them in the oven. When the crackers in the oven are no longer sticky on top, and you can tell the top is dehydrated, you need to have a third because I do 2 trays at a time. Then you have a third cookie sheet with a piece of parchment on it, okay? You take one sheet of the cooked crackers out, you put the parchment on top, you put that cookie sheet on top of that, and you flip the whole thing over, and then you peel the original parchment off so you can cook the underside, okay? So you want to flip it. And that's how you flip it, with a second piece of parchment and a second cookie sheet. You flip it over onto that new, clean, cool cookie sheet. Put that in the oven. Now you've got the cookie sheet that you just used. You can do the second sheet that's already in your oven with another piece of parchment. Flip it over, put it back in the oven, and now you're going to dehydrate the second side.
That is probably the trick of the century, to dehydrate the second side. Okay.
That's the pro tip right there, because that's going to keep you from having, it's going to reduce your cooking time, and B, it is going to make sure that your crackers it's like flipping an omelet. How long is it going to take to cook the top of that omelet if you don't flip it over?
Yeah.
Right?
You won't get through. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. And then once they're done and you've got this cracker, if you want to use like a little a ravioli cutter or a pizza cutter, and you can cut your crackers into specific shapes, but I just break them up into just little pieces and put them in a glass jar. I used to keep them in a plastic bag, but why use plastic when you can use glass? It's a perfect seal, and they're going to stay fresher longer, and you're not using plastic. So that is, it's not my recipe. I got it from the aunt of an ex-boyfriend. So Aunt Patty, thanks for that. And they are super, super delicious. Now, this is bulk fiber. So this bulk fiber, these amazing crackers that have these amazing nuts and seeds in them, all of these are high in nutrients, and they have fat. They're good fat. And they've got a little bit of fiber. They've got a lot of fiber, and they've got just a little bit of carbs. Cashews are high carbs, and peanuts are high carbs. So I try to stick away from them because I've got a fat belly I'm trying to get rid of. But I also want to feed my good bacteria. And what I've recently learned is that fiber is the food that bacteria eats. So if you want to feed the good fiber, you feed them. If you want to feed the good bacteria in your gut, then you give them good fibers. If you want to feed the bad bacteria in the gut, the kind that's making you fat, sick, tired, not having good bowel movements, if you want to feed those, then you want to give it bad fiber, which would be like hamburger buns, bagels, and other bad foods that you feed the bad fiber. Bad gut bacteria eats bad food, and good bacteria eats good food. And so, like I always tell my dogs, when we're walking in the woods or they're out in the barn, icky in, icky out, and you choose. So that's my seed and nut crackers. What do you think? Got any questions?